Welcome to the first video filmed here at the epic Detroit Tint Studio. It's a full-size garage with some colorful lights at the top. Pulled in my Explorer because I wanted to actually strip and retint my passenger front door, get some practice in on shaving the top edge. You guys can check out the live stream of my insane frustration with that whole situation. When I pulled this car in, I noticed something funny about the top edge. I tinted this window back in 2019, about June, with the Gila film from AutoZone. So we had 10 bucks worth of film, and then we also used their $10 installation kit. So before I pull this off, I wanted to inspect it and go over it because I noticed a couple of little things that I wanted to point out. I had a couple people asking, does this film last? What makes it trash? Some people thought I was very biased because I was just picking it up at AutoZone and wanted to rag on them. But there are differences between cheaper films and professional grade films. So we're gonna learn firsthand from a film from AutoZone that's been sitting on my Explorer for the last like 9 months or so here in Michigan. So we don't get as much sun. We just went through the winter time. So this would really be the lightest of circumstances for this vehicle. What happened with the film and how can we tell if it goes bad? What does it mean when film goes bad? And like what can we look out for in the future when we're picking a film for ourselves? So without further ado, let's get into that really quick and then we'll do a quick little studio tour. Nothing crazy, but let's get into it. One thing that you're gonna wanna look for on your films after a period of time is the top edge of the window film. Not necessarily for peeling, but for fading. It's the clearest sign that you're ever gonna see if you see discoloration between the majority of the window and the stuff that's up in the top, because the film that is left up in the top is gonna be the closest to the original tint. If you've ever peeled old film off of your windows, you'll know the stuff that sits in the seal doesn't get any UV sun exposure, so that's where you're really gonna notice any type of fading. So, but with this window, it's clearly like very blue. So we compare it to like the windshield tint. I have some like security film on the back here over the factory tint. So we have roughly limo in the back. So you can see we're definitely like more on the blue here. I don't know how well like the camera colors are gonna translate, but when you're just driving it along the road, it's clearly on the cool blue side, very, very blue. So what I didn't notice so much as time goes by is when we roll this down, so when we look at the majority of this film, it seems pretty even, but right towards the top, you might notice that it's just a little bit darker than the rest of the film, and the coloring is going to be a little bit more different too. So it's clearly gotten even more blue as time has gone by. But when we look at the same window on the outside, you know, at this angle pointed into the car, it really doesn't look bad at all. It just looks like a dark tinted piece of film. But if you put it against that lighter backdrop or you're staring directly through a couple of pieces together, you're really going to start to notice those colors. So the main issues are going to be for you, the driver, when you're sitting in the driver's seat looking out. So the reason why film fades and fades in that way is just the way that the sun beats on it day after day after day. The cheapest way to color film is with dye, and the cheaper those dyes are, the faster they're going to fade. So when you go buy a cheap film, chances are it's going to get a lot of fading sun exposure. There are different colors that you will see different manufacturers put into their dyed films more so than others. So some will fade to green, some will fade to brown, some will fade straight to purple, and they'll bubble up too if you have an adhesive failure. So there's numerous ways that film can fade and peel. It's just like anything, you know, the higher grade materials that they're putting into what they're manufacturing, the longer it's supposed to last, and also there can be some things that come along with that, like warranty coverage. So was this film a complete disaster? No. For 10 bucks, it's really not a bad bargain. You can get it, you can install it. It wasn't peeling, it didn't bubble up very quickly, it's still usable. But for the sheer price to performance, I know 10 bucks seems really cheap, but when you break that down for a bulk roll of film that's gonna be 100 feet, you're really paying about the same amount. So this goes hand in hand with my Amazon Prime window film video. And Yes, I know Amazon doesn't make window film, but bought off of Amazon, bought off of eBay, bought off of AutoZone. You know, there's places that, you know, it's very easy to pick up some window films for consumers because this is what they expect you to do with it, and they don't expect you to know a whole lot about it. This is still an okay place to go, get some film, play around with it. I'm not trying to discourage anybody from that. But this is kind of what you can expect. It's not great looking compared to a lot of other films, and it will start to fade on you. So anybody that has left in the comments saying that they've had it for 2 years, they either left it in a garage or they never really noticed this top edge very much. So it's a subtle change, but it'll get worse and worse as the time goes by. So with that, let's get into the studio a little bit. This is my streaming setup here. So we have my old Canon camera. We are using that as the main camera. I actually bought that camera when I came back to make videos, I think in the beginning of 2018. Put a lot of money into actually that lens and the microphone that goes with that camera. So I'm glad to see that I can use it as my main webcam setup for what's going on here. So when we do our live streams, that's the one that I'm shooting on. And then we have a couple of actually cheaper monitors with a really cool wall mount. So these things are fun because I can lift them like up or down. This is a sit-stand wall mount setup. So yesterday I did a talk with Patrick Latman from formerly known as the Window Tinting Business channel. Now just Patrick Latman, so you can go check his channel out. And I'll leave links in the description to that video too. But what's fun about this is I recently found these things. So this is the Rubbermaid Fast Track system, and then that kind of led me into all these rail mount solutions. And I think this is great for window tinting. So you have these little 6-inch brackets. These are pretty generic. These came with some different kits. Like I went over to Menards, they have them in Lowe's. They're just basically uniform or just dual track rail brackets. So they weren't part of this system in particular, but you can mix and match a bunch of them because it looks like they're all kind of made from the same place or with the same dimensions. And they're the perfect size. The 6-inch ones are the perfect size for mounting film boxes. So we can literally just, if you guys see back here, we have a couple of boxes right here. You can just line up your entire wall with them. We put some foam acoustic padding here, mostly for the color, so you'll recognize this from the apartment studio. We have a mechanical keyboard with what somebody has told me is an old man mouse. We'll have to upgrade that in the future. But it's really cool because I can just kind of come here, talk to you guys, fire up the live stream real easy. We have a couple of camera solutions, so we can, you know, have a couple more. You know, I got this tripod mount right here. So I can have a couple cameras wired directly into that computer, switch the angles. And then with this shelving, we're still messing around with it, but we got another rail, and we put rails on all sides of the garage. And with this, we just put some premium looking boards on top of the same 6-inch track mounts. And also I found this from the Container Store. So not this plastic, but this hanger here. You'll notice this one's a little bit longer, but it's got these hooks that slot right in here in the bottom. And you put like a coat rail basically on it, so for hanging jackets and stuff. But this works really well for plastic and window film. So if we even wanted to, we could go around the whole garage with window films. But I picked up this sticky plastic from Lowe's, and I'm gonna be messing around with a few other ones. When you pull this stuff down, you can cover your door panels with it, and you can just cut off a piece at a time. I'm really trying to figure out the perfect setup to have everything conveniently here on one shelf, maybe over on the other shelf for like working on the car itself. For window tinting, have back window tools where I need them, have my tank set up, maybe one on each side, but you know, glass cleaners, towels, stuff that I really would run back to my tool cart for, I'm gonna have those on hand. And then when we get into these front racks, as you can see, we just have some junk on them right now. Over there, we have a glass polisher. we're going to be adding a couple extra services here. So we're going to be looking into a touchless wash, and we're also going to be looking into some like glass coatings, like ceramic coating, maybe for glass in particular. We might look into some paint protection film for like door edge guard and the door cups, maybe even the front bumpers. So there's some simple things out there that I can add on, more so than just tinting windows, but all kind of centered around glass and things that wouldn't take me a whole lot longer to do. So I talked about some of that during my recent live stream, but we're gonna be making some more dedicated videos as we figure some things out. What's nice about this car is that it's actually kind of dirty. It's got overspray on it. It's just kind of like, I don't really take that great of care of it. It's my main toolbox. So some of these things we're gonna be trying out on my own vehicle for like cleaning up the glass. We're gonna see what the touchless wash does. So I have some stuff coming right now. So stay tuned for that. But that's really just kind of a brief tour. If there's anything else that you guys wanted to know, ask me in the comments. Like these lights, these were just cheapo agriculture RGB lights I found on Amazon. So I'll have links to some of these things in the video description. But here, we're gonna take things a little bit differently. This is my studio. So we're gonna go in with more of a studio vibe, I guess, to everything, and just put that much more detail into everything, water down the door panels, all those things that are in some previous videos. We're gonna start to address those. We're gonna start to put a little bit more polish on what we do here, and we're maybe gonna start changing up what people think about tinters tinting out of their garage, because it's really not about the space, it's about what you can do with it. So thank you guys so much for watching. Hopefully we won't be so long between videos in the future. And as always, links are in the video description, and I'll see you guys in the next one.